Okay, friends, subscribers, and all you YouTubers out there, this video you're about to see is going to shock some of you. What I have actually found is proof of major planetary objects surrounding our sun and moving past our sun. One of which could be Nibiru, or they could be these so-called objects. But to me, I think they are spacecraft, because in some instances they disappear and reappear in the same spot. They are not moving. Some of them are actually 100% stationary. Some of them are actually moving a slight bit. Now you'll notice, you'll see them where they do move slightly, but then all of a sudden you'll see them move or not move. Now the thing is, you're also seeing loads and loads of little white dots appearing. Now these are actual objects that are catching the sunlight, and they are fairly large, and yet they are moving at extremely high speed, so fast that they're only caught once in that whole camera view. Some are caught twice. Most only ever caught that once. So these objects are moving so damn fast that you can't see what the hell they are. Now, you'll notice one in the solar flare there. Um, Now, that's just one of many, and I mean one of many. Now, since these have been starting to appear, it's very hard to download these images. Certain images, when you try and download them, they won't download them, especially the last 3 days. Each time I've been trying to get the latest versions of these objects, I can't download them, and it's actually quite frustrating. And it's, to me, saying that they're actually trying to cover something up. Now, you'll notice some are moving at reasonable speed. That you can see now, that is they are going from left to right at a slow pace. They are orbiting bodies that we pass on a regular basis. Well, that's what we're told. But the rest of them, the ones that appear just for that brief moment, well, they are actually objects that are moving so fast. But it's not those ones that I'm actually here to talk about, even though I might mention them occasionally. Every now and then you will see sections you've just seen to appear at the top. Now notice how they're not moving. They are 100% stationary. They have come into the solar picture. They're on this side of the solar flare because we're seeing a darkened side to these objects. A third one has just appeared. Now, I have slowed this section down so that you can see these. A fourth one has just appeared. Now, and yet everything else is just moving past at normal ratios. Now, there's one down lower, but it's back a little bit as well. But these depend on where the solar flare is. Now, you see an extremely bright one that's not moving. Now, that's because the sun is reflecting off it. You can see the differences between the two. The ones in the solar flares, and they vanish, and you'll notice they'll reappear in a minute in the same damn spot. That's because it's the way the flares are moving around past these objects. You'll see 1 minute the flare is in front of that object, and the next minute it's behind, so it's making it flash on and off. And that's because of the direction of the solar flare, not the object. The object has remained stationary. Now, I've been noticing these for some months. I can track some of these objects back months and months and months, but a lot of them have only been appearing in the last 2 weeks. And I mean, there's quite a lot. I've counted approximately 20, maybe 30 of these objects, and they are all there. Now, when you watch it, I can't, unfortunately, because of what they're doing with the thing, when you try and download the pictures of them, notice how they've reappeared again. Now, they haven't disappeared. There's actually an extra one in that, and it's all the way the solar flare. Now, you notice the solar flare, and it makes them disappear and then reappear. So the angle of the solar flare tells you where these objects are. Now, you can go to the Helio viewer and download the Helio viewer, and I recommend that you download the Helio viewer. Now, notice up to the top of the screen, you'll notice that there is an object there with a darkish line into it. I believe that is some kind of field. Now, you'll see that in another film. I believe that is actually a field that has been actually slowed down the reactions of the flares. In other words, I believe it's some kind of force field being generated by this object because it is extremely close. Now, these are still images of this one so that you can actually see and study that force field. Now, also notice that something just shot out of it in that shot, but it's only for a brief second, and it shot out of that object. Now, some of these objects are in some of the footage where they're firing on other craft. So they are either planet-sized spaceships, and now that has got to be planet-sized. That one there has to be as big as the Earth. Right, now, rating it on the ratio of the Sun compared to its location to the Sun, that is a planet-sized object. And I'd say it's comparable to the size of the Earth, if not the Moon, if smaller, maybe. And yet these things are fairly large and they move. And in some occasions it's in front of the flare, some occasions it's behind the flare, and it does disappear. Now, this one has been stationary in the same position, has not moved for over 5 weeks. This is the first one that appeared. Now, I haven't put out a video yet until this video because I've been studying them. I've been watching on a daily basis. I've been looking at them, and I have noticed some of them are moving very, very slightly. Now, all these are still images so that you capture some of the craft, and you can see these craft that are surrounding this object and surrounding our Sun, and they are moving so fast. Some of them only appear as a line. The slower ones, you see them as dots, but they are still moving. Even those dots are still moving so damn fast, you only see them in one shot, but they're slow enough to be captured by the camera as a dot. Yet some of them are moving so fast that you see them as a streak. It's the same as when you see a shooting star in the sky. What you are actually seeing is a shooting star in the sky. It's a star that's streaking across the sky. It's not a meteorite. Meteorites enter our atmosphere and they have a burning type and a remnant type effect behind them. Yet stars that streak across the sky, and you've only got to go to Google Sky, Worldwide Telescope, and you'll see these stars streaking across the sky in natural form. And it does happen. You've only got to look at these telescopes and see them. Now, you can see one object. Now, here what we get is we get a few objects here. Now, you'll see them appear and disappear. Now, these are of today. The quality of them isn't as good as what I would hope to get, but you'll notice in one or two of them there's slight movement with the objects. Yet the rest are 100% stationary. I don't think this is the movement one, the ones that are moving. I think they're on their side view. Now that one has been there for 3 weeks. It seems to be 3 or 4 larger planet-sized objects with 2 smaller ones coming out, making it look like a little bit of a worm at one stage. Now that's a planet-sized object. There's another one behind it. Now, I've had to do this in sections. Now, I recommend that everybody download the Helio Viewer. I'll leave a link to the Helio Viewer website so that you can go and download these for yourselves. That's if I can find the Helio Viewer. Actually, I don't know where it is. Now, this one here, you can notice that there's 1, 2 appearing there. Now, you see the standard right to left movement. Now, this is the one that has been there for a few weeks. I've zoomed in on this one so that you can actually see it. I'll put it at the end, and I'm going to slow this one down so you can get a better look at it again. But that's a craft that's flying across, captured only in one screen. That's a craft captured only in one picture. Now, these appear, again, another one captured in just one picture. Now, Now this is another one. This one's been sighted before. Now I thought this was a craft firing, but it's not. That's a craft firing on one of these objects, and they're everywhere. Now you can see that little one down there. The others in the stationary ones. It's pretty hard to tell, except for they're dark. But these were the problems I was having. I had to download them as still images, so I've just included a few of the still images so you can actually see them. Now there's that one there, that's the multi one to the right. That's just one of the ones, but it's what you actually get to see and how you get to see them, how they appear and disappear in the footage. And the thing is, why are they covering this up? Why aren't they talking about it? Okay, these aren't planets, and you notice that they're just the ones that are appearing and disappearing, and they're the fast objects. But then all of a sudden these objects appear when the solar flare goes in the right direction, away from them. You can see that it's just appeared on the right hand side. Another one will appear very soon. I think you should see 3 here eventually. But that bright one, it appears every now and then when the solar flare is in the right direction. Now some of those still images of those craft were from this image. Now it's just appeared on the right, it's disappeared again, and it's because of the solar flare. It's the direction of the solar flare. So these things are hiding in the sun. There's one that's just appeared. There's the other one that's just appeared. There's another one that's just appeared in the near the coronal section of it. There's that other one that's down in the flare section. It's a lot closer. Now that one, to me, you can sort of see a film around it, near it. Now, some of these have been there for some time, but the rest of them are new. And I mean new. Very, very new. They have not been there before, and they have only just started appearing now in the last few weeks. I'm beginning to believe that the Americans and the militaries around the world are truly preparing for a real alien invasion. And I believe this is where they're getting their info, because after seeing this and watching this, now I do believe that there are conspiracy theories out there. I still believe that the Illuminati have got something to do with it, and they know about this. I believe that they have their little alien contacts. Yes. I do believe in the reptilian and the Sumerian connection with this. Now, why would an object hide in the sun? Why? So we can't see them. Right? They're there until they're built, and I think they're building up their forces. I truly do. And when you see this, now that one's taken in the last couple of days. You can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The 5th one's a little bit harder to see. Oh no, you can just see it there. I think there's a 6th one in there. No, that could be just shit on my screen, but no, there is a 6th one. But then there's that bright one for a moment, then it goes dark, and then it goes bright, dark, bright, dark, bright. And that's because of the way the solar flare is moving. There's that one that's in towards the solar flare. There's another one. There's 3 in that one. Now, you will see them very differently. Now, go back through these ones, and you'll see that some of them are actually moving very slightly. I think it's only in one of the videos where you notice them moving very, very slightly. But the rest are stationary. And unless we have objects that stay in geosynchronous, it's not geosynchronous orbit. These are the ones that are in permanent orbit. Now you notice how that bright one just went dark, and it's gone bright again. It's because it's the way the flare is hitting it. So that means that is a genuine object sitting there, and it's real, people, and it's planet size. A lot of these objects you're seeing are planetary size objects. All those little flashes are planetary size objects. Now notice how they've just reappeared. Alright, now they've reappeared and then disappeared. See how that solar flare is reflecting off it. That is a real object. There's a 4th one appeared, 5th one appeared. So there's 5 all up in that one. The 5th one is very hard to see, but you can see it. And again, I'm going back to these still images so that you can see these craft as they flash. Now, these are in sequence, folks. These images are in sequence, picture for picture, as they are downloaded. So you can see them in one image, and then you can't see them in another. You can see how some appear as streaks, and some appear as things. Now, a lot of people say all these comets that head into the sun are crashing into the sun. I don't think they're crashing into the sun. I think they're parking around the sun, and I believe all the so-called comets we've been seeing going into the sun are actually these objects. They're not crashing into the sun. They're going into orbit, taking a thing. Now, there's a second object coming. I didn't notice that one. There was a second object going into a different direction, coming out of that object, and it was moving extremely fast. But notice the force shield in front of this damned object. That is a force shield. Now, if you watch that and you go and download a couple of months of this video in that particular shot on the Helio viewer, you will notice that that thing disappears, and when the solar flare hits that force shield in some of the things, you'll notice that solar flare does not go any further than that force shield, and you get a flat line. Now, these videos are for the past week, and the past week only, right? Because I'm trying to show you the build-up of the objects. Now, I've just noticed that one of the objects there that I've been thinking is a fifth or the sixth one, and some of them is something on my TV screen. It's the same spot. So if you're looking for that extra object and can't find it, don't worry. I was talking about something on my TV. But the thing is, what you are seeing are real photos and real NASA photographs. And you can see a force shield on one of them. And it's sitting so close to the sun that it would need a force shield. Now see how that object is streaked. That's how fast it's moving. It's appearing as a streaked object. I capture many of these images, and I could sit there for hours and days and just put them on the TV. But unless you go to the Soho camera and download the videos and look at them as single images, and you'll notice that when an object is there once, it's not in the next object, so it's moving fairly fast. Now, some people say, oh, it's just interference, but it's not interference, folks. This is genuinely happening. These objects are genuinely passing our sun. Don't be so narrow-minded and think the Earth is flat, because the Earth is not flat. The stars move, and guess what? Planet-sized spaceships are surrounding our sun at this present time, and I believe it could be to do with an alien invasion. I don't know, but I think it could have, because it's just very strange that in the last 2 weeks we have had a massive build-up of these objects surrounding the sun, and they are not moving. They are stationary objects. Look at them. They are there. You can see that they are stationary objects. They're not moving, folks. Not moving whatsoever. I'm keeping my eye on this, but I'm telling everybody to go and download Helio Viewer, so that you can zoom on these objects, look at them for yourself. You can see the ones that are moving, the ones that aren't moving. But that's the one that gets me the most, because it's a couple of objects stuck very close together, and it's been the same for days. It's not moving. It hasn't budged from its position whatsoever. Then you get the ones that are flashing on and off. That proves that the solar flare is reacting to the object. You get the ones that are close to the solar flare, the ones that are really, really close. And you can see them inside a solar flare. And you see objects everywhere, and you see them all over the place. So I'm going to leave it up to you folks to make up your own mind. Look at these objects objectively, and note, oh, there's a force shield again, and you can see it's a force shield in front of this object. It's a giant spacecraft near our sun, and if you go back and look at the Helio Viewer pictures for yourself, you can backtrack them, and with the Helio Viewer you can zoom in on them just as good as this to take snapshots where you're getting the close-up of the object rather than the Soho camera. But the Helio viewer has access to other things. The Helio viewer was the one that captured the pictures of that object near the sun, which is almost in the same position as that object there, and I believe it could be that force shield that everybody was seeing, and that craft may have moved at that certain time, taking its force shield with it. So there's a lot of stuff happening out there, folks, near the sun, and I advise everybody to start watching the sun. Go to Helio Viewer and download the viewer and start watching the sun and see these things for yourself. Otherwise, you're a damned idiot because something's going on. So, folks, as I said, I'm going to take it out with this because I've just actually noticed something else with this. When I've slowed it down, I've noticed there is actually an object in front of it as well. I don't know whether that's what's creating part of the force field that's going on, but there is that secondary object that is in front of the force shield that's not moving. Now, this object, I believe, could be one very large spaceship. And I don't know if you noticed that thing come out. That's one of the reasons why I slowed it down. Because there's something going on with this object, and this is the most prevalent one. I don't know if anybody else has spotted this object in yet, but it's something that you need to do. You truly need to go and download the Helio Viewer, and I'm going to stress that, download the Helio Viewer. Once you download the Helio Viewer and start doing your own research, it's going to change your life. You're going to see these things as potential, and I mean potential, alien craft, because that's what they are. Every one of those little white flashes that you see are objects that could be classified as a spacecraft. Everything moving from left to right, though, slowly could be classified as the universe going on behind it. But they have to be, as far as I'm concerned, they'd have to be in screenshot of our sun. Now, did you notice what looked to be a laser coming out the back of this craft? And there was another one there. Now, something's going on. These are not normal objects. These do not belong around our sun. Yet, these objects, as I said, aren't there. They shouldn't be there. They are truly, truly something that's foreign to our sun and should not be there, and you have to make your mind up for yourself. Are these objects real? Yes, they are, because they are sitting there, the sun flashing on them, and when solar flares move in certain ways, they change the look of the craft. Now, even the shell of that craft looks fairly hot, even with its force field. I do not know whether they're using heat for power, which could be done, because heat can be used for power. But the thing is, why are they congregating around the sun? Why are they hiding around the sun? Could it be the truth that there could be the possibility that we are going to be invaded? Could they be getting ready to say hello? You're going to have to make your mind up, and you're going to have to look at these images and make your mind up for yourself. And don't forget, people, go and download the Helio Viewer. I will leave the link for the download at the bottom of my page on the description, so go for it.